Hi, welcome to another episode, vlog, post, I don't know, whatever they call these things, of Kute-Uchi Revival. Today, I'm just going to go over on how I prepare short braids. Usually these short braids is something I use to test out a pattern, or if I want to play with, experimental moves, changing up the order of moves, or if I want to experiment with color placements or color patterns within the braid. Any measurement method is useful. The only thing that's kind of unique for Japanese loop braiding and probably in European loop braiding is that you want to get each of the loops as close to identical in length as possible, because of everything is going to be lined up off of your fingers, so it makes it a lot easier if they're all generally the same length. So that way you're not having to pull one finger way out from all the others, or far away from the others. You can kind of keep them at a nice, comfortable spacing. So I'm using this green yarn. It's cotton, and I'm really only using it today because it shows up a lot better on camera so that you can see what I'm doing. So obviously we're just going to go ahead and pinch off the end here, and then we're going to measure from one shoulder to the opposite end. So I'm going to go ahead and measure this out, and you can stretch it out as far as you want or anything, but generally this is a good length to use. It's not a specified length because different people have different arm lengths, and in loop braiding, when you're doing these short pieces, arm length has a big difference in making sure that you get your tension right. But that's a whole nother video, and so we're just going to go ahead on from here. So take this point right here, and what we're going to do is we're just going to pinch it off and fold it over, and let me grab some more yarn. And then if we're just going to do a braid of a single color, then we'll just double this over as many times as we want loops. So if I'm doing 3 loops, I'll fold it over 3 times. And then let's say we're going to do a second color, and then what we would do is we would cut this off, and then we would actually, instead of remeasuring this way, we would actually measure the new color and new threads off of this one, making sure that we try to get them as even and identical as possible. But today we're just going to go ahead and use one color, and we're going to go ahead and go with 5 loops, just because it's a nice middle odd number that's good for your hands. So I'm going to spool off some more of this yarn and grab it. So this is 3. That makes a total of 4. So what I'm doing right before I get to the end is I'm actually grabbing it here, so that way I can hold it firm and the threads don't move around on me. For those who are very familiar already with playing with string, a lot of this is already very familiar. So just now I can pinch it off and run it over down again, and stopping just before I get to the end to pinch and transfer hands. Just kind of slide down to the end so that I can cut things off nice and flush and even. So one of the things that makes it that you don't want to do in this case, or at least this is my preference, is that you don't want to go ahead and snip off these folds right here. You don't want to cut that. You want to go ahead and leave it as one big giant length, because from here you're not going to ever unfold this. So what you're going to do is just stretch out your thread, as long as I don't keep dropping it, and we're just going to meet up the end, and all we're going to do at this point is we're just going to stick an overhand knot on the end of this, And I'm going to go ahead and pull it tight. I like to pull this knot as close to the end as possible. And there you go. Now, one of the features of knotting your loops together like this is that you're going to end up having some threads that won't untangle from the end. So I'm going to kind of come in a little closer. Hopefully this is in camera, and so you can see that some of these loops are just never going to come out from being tangled up. So they're always going to be a little bit of a mess here. So basically your best bet is, instead of trying to grab from here and separating out your loops, go ahead and just grab from back here and grab your loops from back here. Now this is a lot easier if I had this anchored down to something. So maybe my assistant can grab the end here for me. So I'm just going to grab the loops. Now you can try and, go ahead and work these around a little bit, but don't sweat it too much if you can't get them separated nice and neatly. So, and what do we got here? So, you don't have to sweat it too much, because most of this is going to end up being covered up when you go to finish the braid. And so this is how I prepare. So, barring having somebody actually hold the end, so one of the things that you'll need to do is use a lark's head knot. So if my assistant can grab me a loop over there. So in my previous video that I have, on how to do a lark's head knot, remember, fingers come up from underneath through the loop, and you're just going to roll your fingers down and around and shake that top part off and create this hole. So, and then from there you can just put the knot through the loop that you made and pull tight on your leader cord. And then this can be attached to your anchor, and that is what you're going to use to start braiding. All right, thank you and enjoy.